get started. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, our April 30th strategic planning agenda. Everyone should have their agenda in front of them. It looks like a full agenda. We're really not going to be talking about all of this, but there are a few things on here, or that are not on here, that we need to talk about. The main reason that I called this meeting today was to talk about the constituent services position that Councilwoman Knoll would like to discuss. So, Councilwoman Knoll, I'm just going to hand it off to you. You present your case, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, council family,
Hey.
and to those out there watching and listening, hello. So what I am doing once again is before you in reference to the Director of Constituent Services. I think everyone at the table here and even in this room know my feelings about this. I just feel like as a council person, things that are needed is always placed on the back burner for us. And I mean, I realize the mayor's office works for the mayor. So anything that he needs, they're going to make sure they take care of that first. And then whatever's left, then they'll have a time to assist us. But by that time, I mean, my pot is probably burned up and the bottom is out of it and everything else is dry. So I just feel like the best thing for us as a family, it's going to make our life a whole lot easier, is to have a director of constituent service that is actually working for us. Last time there was some questions about who that person would report to, and my answer to that was to the chair, and if it was a problem with the chair not wanting to deal with that, then I mean, I would take on that responsibility. But I think it's a role that it does not have to have someone to supervise them. That person, I think, would be a person that can actually work themselves with at least a scope of work that we need. They could do it themselves without supervision. I can see the most that a person, director or constituent would need from us would be for someone to add their time to the payroll and to supply them with office supplies, pen, paper, that type of thing. But as far as looking over their shoulder and directing them as to what they need to do, I don't see that for this role here. Now, I know we talked about the council clerk and that type of, and difference between that and the director of constituent services, and that's two different skill sets. The director of constituent service would be someone that could just actually, okay, so let me give you an example, a good example, a couple of them. I had someone to call me the other day, and I had to call and get someone over in the other building to assist with that. But of course that was not taken care of, so that constituent called me back 2 more times. So what I did was personally reached out to the amazing, and I always say simply amazing, Mrs. Kimberly Strong, and she was on it ASAP. It should not have taken who I called at first. It should not have taken for me to have to call her, because that was the person that was in the head of that department, and they actually, I felt like, should have addressed that. But because they are not working for us, then once again I was just put on the back burner to wait until it was efficient for them to do it. I did request a market analysis for those 2 positions, and I'm sorry it got to you late today, but I did forward it to all of the council people, but I didn't get it until about 9 o'clock this morning. I think I sent that request out on the 16th of the month, but I didn't get it until 9 this morning. So I gave it to you as quick as I opened my computer and saw it was there, and forwarded it on to you in reference to the pay scale, the criteria, the duties of that person. So that Director of Constituent Services is, I have 3 neighborhood meetings that are on the same day. And what I do is I run, and all they get from me is 15 minutes each, because I got travel time in between. That Director of Constituent Service could at least fill in on one of those meetings for me, and then that way I could go half an hour from one of the other one, and then they could take notes for me at the other meeting. That constituent service person would be able to connect with the mayor's office and administration there to do what need to be done for us. As far as walk-ins, I'm quite sure we have walk-ins that come in here that need services of some kind, and they could be able to attend to that as well. So, I don't know if it's anything else you want to know or need to know from me. If so, then I am open for question and fire away. Because we really, like I said, we depend on the mayor's office a lot for things that we need. We just need our own, not to separate, but to work together and to work better. Our constituents would have better service.
Councilman Wood?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilwoman, is this just one person or one for each of us? Because I know sometimes.
No, it's just
there may
one
be an
person.
overload for one person to handle all 9.
That's one person.
Is one person. Okay. Is it your thought to have that person located here in the building, kind of a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday?
Yes, in our building.
And available to, if someone were to come and have intense questions or need a lot of detail, that they would be trained, and is it your intent that they would actually speak for us or try to represent the issue from a city perspective?
No.
I'm a little worried about that.
No, I don't, it's not my intent for them to speak for any of us. Now, there are times when, I think all of us, and I'm gonna say that, I think all of us want hands-on with our constituents. We do. Now, what that person would do will help us get the whatever information is needed and whatever, the problem was solved, and we can go back and relay that message on too. The legwork can be done by that Director of Constituent Service. And whether you, at that point, can decide, I will let her relay that information, or I will take that ball and run with it myself.
Would they be, if I may, Mr. Chair, would they be also involved in activities like helping us coordinate a community meeting, for example? Because I know, obviously,
Yes.
I handle that on my own through my HOAs and neighborhood associations. But would this person kind of help step in and coordinate calendars or be on boots on the ground?
If needed, if that's the way you want to handle that,
So
yes.
there's still some flexibility in job criteria possibly that this might evolve into as we moved along?
What do you mean?
Well, at my place of business, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer, and I have to do it all, and I'm used to that. So, I can take out the trash just as well as design some fancy graphics. So, it's just whatever needs to happen. Is this kind of a job that you would anticipate being able to wear many hats?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That person would, wherever we need, would be able to accommodate us in that need.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Yeah, I do. This is just a follow-up on before. So this is strictly the budgetary question again. So, if there's no new positions, then the salary would come from the money we have now, right? The $100,000. I'm just asking.
No, why would it have to come from our money? Why couldn't it come from, what would it be, general funds? Why couldn't it be funded through the other end of the?
Yeah, I'm not saying
Oh, okay,
that.
I'm just asking, yeah.
I'm saying that we were told no new positions. So if that's true, no new positions, administratively, no new positions, then the alternative would be to come from our funds. I'm not pro or con it, I'm just asking.
Who said no new positions?
Well, when we all got educated, I
Individual
believe,
budget meetings.
yeah.
So, no new position can come, we couldn't have a new position here in council. Are you saying that the funds would not be there for that new position?
No, I'm saying we have in our budget $100,000 that's used for, we've used it for research, we've used it for different things. This really isn't a loaded question. I'm asking budget-wise, if we were told no new positions, then it would come from existing funds.
So I'm still confused as to why it would have to come from the council budget. If the regular budget is there, why are we harping on whether it comes from the council budget or not? What would be the, help me understand that.
Well, when we had our education sessions, it was, there are no new positions. We all had our education sessions, which is general, no new positions, which means, okay, then we have to go internally to make the position, which is cool with me. I'm just asking, is that where you're going with that?
Let me explain it or phrase it another way. And I haven't seen the budget, because we're gonna get it, I guess, later on, but it looked like to me that the budget was flat.
Yeah.
In other words, we did not have an increase in revenue
Right.
that would allow for positions to be added. So basically, if our budget was 250 million last year, it's 250 million this year, it means there's no new money for a new position. So we have to use money within whatever that revenue stream was to reallocate it, as opposed to, and in many years, there is new money that's available. But this was not one of those budget years.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying now. So let me say this. It might not be any new money for a position, but I promise you I could go in that budget and find the money to supplement that position. If it can't be found, then let me go in there. I promise you I could find it.
Let me, well, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I know, we discussed a couple of positions that, people are gonna be retiring from. So maybe that's a way we can use those funds in there. And I know in community development that several of us has brought attention to the top heaviness of, the staff, and maybe those positions can be repurposed to become a director of constituent services, maybe one or two is other ways that we could look at it. But I asked the question the last time on how can council strengthen a relationship with neighborhood services, because those individuals are attending neighborhood meetings. And like Councilwoman Noel said, like we have 3-4 meetings set up sometimes on one night. It's impossible to make them all, but the neighborhood services person most definitely can intervene, answer any questions that they can, take notes to pass on to us, to follow up, which I know Miss Karen, she does great in that. If I'm not able to meet at Eastdale this night because I'm at Avondale, she can get that information to me. And then a lot of working with Miss Kim, who does an excellent job as well, but I do understand the need for us to have somebody directly working with us on the council. But I know that the relationship just need to be strengthened with everybody that's playing a role in our neighborhoods, because it's not just us, like we're the voice for the community, but you got other people that are actively involved in those neighborhoods too, that if we can build a better relationship without those individuals feeling like they have to operate in their individual silos, or they're being told not to communicate with council members or you know, you're gonna get reprimanded if you do so. It's that kind of communication that prevents a cohesive strengthening of a relationship with us to actually address the concerns of our constituents, and it shouldn't be that way. So that's what I would like to see, if we can get those people better engaged in the process with working with us, if we're not able to, because this one person is still not gonna be able to put a dent in the need that we have for council, because we got too many neighborhood meetings, over 30, 40 neighborhood meetings.
It wound up being a conflict somewhere.
True.
You good? Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the conversation has rolled back around to money, as it always does. The $100,000, and I know it's not exact, that this council has had for year after year after year of unspent dollars was due to a third position that we had, fourth technically. It was a legal position. It was, I forget what it was originally. My original
Financial
name.
analysis.
Analyst, that's what it
When
was.
we first came
analyst.
on.
It's an analyst.
We came on, we brought in a legislative person, that person rolled off, and we never really used those funds to fill the position. If those funds are continually rolling forward, would those not be available to use for something like this if Councilwoman Knoll wanted to pursue that as an option? Because those funds are available
Yes, they are,
And otherwise, they roll back into general,
every year.
unless we
unless we encumber them, that's right.
for a project. But yes, that
Okay.
is correct.
Just making a point that I think there is an option there if the council decided to support this idea that the funds are not only there right now, they'll be there next year as part of our budget. So there is a funding source available.
Which, that comment I think would be a good segue for, I've spoken with Nicole, and I'm just throwing this out there to see if this could be a possibility. I've spoken with Nicole. Our front desk position right here has seemingly been sort of somewhat of a rotating door. We don't seem to be able to hang on to anybody. I don't know if that's because of the salary, the low pay, if there's maybe not enough engagement to keep them active. So what I've talked to Nicole about is maybe increasing the responsibilities of that position and using a portion of our $100,000 in that research to supplement that with, to see if that would work. And maybe we supplement it, well, by however much we feel like that position needs to earn or needs to make. That way we're not losing all of our research dollars, but we're actually increasing the role of this third person out here, the front desk person. You know, I'm not saying we don't have, you know, we talk about the separation of government. We are a separate body from the administration, and so I think we ought to have the personnel that we need to support us. I just want to throw that out as an idea to see if we think that could possibly be an option. Now, Councilwoman, one thing I haven't seen, I saw you sent examples of what other roles do. I think in order to determine the level of pay, we need to understand what the role and responsibility of this person would be. And I don't know if we fully developed that yet or not to really understand. I mean, I get a sense of what I think I know you want it to do, but that needs to be clearly identified, a description of what this person would need to do. I do think we're gonna get in a little bit of a landmine if they start going to neighborhood meetings, particularly if we all have neighborhood meetings, and it seemed like for whatever reason, they seem to be on 1 of 2 days in the week. So, you know, how do they choose? You've got 3 one day, I've got 2 the same day, and Councilman Hester has several. How do they pick and choose as to which neighborhood meeting they're gonna go to? And I think Councilwoman Coonrod's comment about getting neighborhood services involved, I know Adriana used to come to all of my she was always there at my neighborhood meetings, and she took notes. She would email me, she would let me know issues that the community raised that they were working on. I think that is a way to strengthen, if we could kind of strengthen that, position to where neighborhood services could maybe step in and fill a role or a gap, in our neighborhood. And she would go to neighborhood, meetings that I wouldn't be able to go to as well. So, what about the idea of increasing responsibility for this other position? Think position, don't think person right now, okay? Think position.
No, for me.
No?
No, it would just be a watered down version of what I have in mind that I think is needed. Depending on that person, I'm thinking the person for this position would have the skill sets that we need to do what needs to be done. I
Well,
mean,
I
I
hear you say
can,
that, but I
I'm-
don't understand yet. I need to see that in writing too.
and, okay, and I will go back and tweak that job description, that I brought before and see exactly what it is that's not there that would make it clear. I can do that.
Okay. Councilwoman Coonrod?
Councilwoman Noel?
Yes,
What
yes.
would be the difference with what Director of Constituent Services you proposing and what the services that Ms. Kim, what she do? What would be the difference? Or is it the same, or is it some differences?
It's pretty much the same, depending on what is needed. Like I said, and I can only speak for me, the way it has been handled concerning me. If it was as easy as 1, 2, 3 ABC for me to pick up the phone and say, hey, I have this issue here, this is the department that I'm calling that should handle that issue. You tell me you're gonna do that, or I email you and you tell me you're gonna take care of that. I'm waiting for you to get back with me so I can get back with my constituents and tell me what I need to do. Now, you don't always need the director constituent to do that. Now, of CB, Chattanooga Police Department, number one for me, there is Captain Hewitt, was lieutenant at first. I could call him and give out what I needed, and when I tell you the next day it is done, it was done. But that is not always the case with everything else. So that person, even though I have reached out and did not get a response that I needed, then this person for the director of constituents could handle that. Whereas I would have to go back 2 or 3 times to do that. That time I could spend on something else that I have to do.
Let me ask something right here, so that I'm clear.
Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
It makes sense, but I'm just, is there anything in place to say what's the follow-up turnaround? Like, we want an immediate, but it may be 3, 4 days. So if as a council person, if we're not, think about that. The council person is not able to get an immediate response, is what I'm hearing you say. But you feel like the director of constituent service will be able to, and they're more than likely not. Or you was just saying the disposable time, you don't have it to keep going back and forth.
Back and forth with it. It makes no sense. Yeah, there's someone that would be what, like Kim does. That would be the legwork. Kim does the legwork. Kim gets it done.
Okay,
Whereas I would have to go back and work on it.
keep doing it.
Right. Which is frustrating.
And then if I can, I know that previously, we had our council clerks, they were assigned at one point 3 council members for each person, each clerk. And they would do those same duties that Ms. Marvin, Councilwoman Noah is talking about. They would do follow-ups, they would schedule appointments, they would schedule meetings, they would, follow up with the constituents' emails or whatever the ask was. If it was an issue of concern in the community, the clerk would be the person that did that. We didn't give them no additional pay, and they worked their buns off. I mean, in fact, we missing some people because the pay was so low, and they had this. They were doing majority of the stuff that's on what Councilwoman Noel is want to implement. So I think maybe we can get that back. or who, but for me, you know, as a council person, I like doing that kind of engagement with my constituents and, working with other departments to make sure that we getting it done. But like I said, I do understand your frustration, because honestly, you haven't had a fair shot at it since you've been appointed and then run for the seat. You came in behind the ball and was running and didn't feel like you had the support needed. But I just strongly believe that we gotta strengthen our connections, because this is, we will need several positions to cover all council districts. And then two, we could utilize the interns. Each of us can get an intern every time they come around, and they hear 4 to 6 months or so. That could put them to work to do this exact thing. Like, you don't really need a bachelor degree to interact with the community at a community level or anything like that, but they can get the hands-on experience, research, or whatever you want them to do. But let's put what we have and put it to work.
But, and no offense against interns, we do have interns, but once again, you have to train those interns. You get somebody here that already has those skills, that we would not have to do that. With an intern, it's still work. It's still work.
Councilman Hester.
One thing I noticed with the neighborhood service representative, they're even overwhelmed. Like you stated that they have to go to this meeting, that meeting, that meeting. If additional support will help in our efforts to connect with the community, wherever it comes. If it comes from being more engaged with Kim or with other means, that would be helpful, in my opinion.
Okay, so I think if we had a more defined, and I guess when I think of this position, I would think of, you know, getting I'm gonna call it a complaint, an email from a constituent that has a particular problem. I would send it to this constituent services person. They would then reach out to whatever person in the administration would handle that. I'm kind of like Councilwoman Coonrod. I don't think they're gonna get any quicker response than what we get. But I guess what they could do is give us a constant update on what has been done, what they would do to continue to follow up. But as far as them handling a problem, I don't know that they would actually be the one that's gonna resolve it or get it taken care of. Because they wouldn't have any more authority to tell a director or an administrator what to do than we do. You know, unfortunately, I can't go out and tell any administrator, hey, I need you to go fix this problem. I can email them, say, I got this problem, and request that something be done. I think where sometimes it gets lost is in the feedback back for me letting a constituent know what's being done. And that's the reason I'm saying, I think we need a fairly tight job description so that at least we're all under the same understanding of what this position would do, and then knowing what it would do, we'd know what it wouldn't do. And I mean, we've got $100,000 to deal with now. I think, what do you have to figure, 30% for benefits? So I don't guess we could offer more than right at $70,000 for the position as far as pay. And then by the time you figure in benefits, that would consume the 100. But I think having the job description would then allow HR to come up with whatever that pay category would be. So, are we good? And by the way, we can disperse that $100,000 at any point in time. It's gonna be in the budget. We'll just sort of be confined to that amount. Now, let's back up and talk about one other thing, who this person answers to. I do think every person needs a supervisor. I would not suggest it be the chair, not just because I'm sitting here at this point in time. I just don't think that is a position that we want the chair to have to fulfill. Obviously, a chair is not in this building, well, I can't speak for all of them, but we're not in this building 8 hours a day. You need somebody that can, a job evaluation for this person every year. My thoughts is that our clerk would be, I mean, our clerk is the head of the office, and they would maintain head of the office even over this position. She would be the one that would evaluate job performances and that person would answer to our clerk. Would be my preference.
Nicole need a raise.
Do what?
She need a raise then.
Okay, any more questions?
Can I just interject something really quick, just so that y'all are aware, FLSA has changed the salary, as of January 1st of 2025. So if you're a salaried employee, your minimum pay is 58 change, so just keep that in mind as you said 70. But if this person's gonna be doing evening shifts at neighborhood meetings or things like that, you would need to keep that in consideration. It would have to be a salaried position, so that would be like the base of what you could pay, and that's gonna continue to go up. They have a fixed schedule, so just so you are aware of that. And I did have this position out west, we had as a senior policy analyst. There were 3 sections that they covered. One was they did policy updates, so they did kind of what Ellis does now, of like getting us the policies that are changing, governmental, like statewide, local, all that kind of stuff. Second was they dealt with constituent issues, so any constituent issues that came in, they attended neighborhood association meetings and things like that. The third thing they did, which is the other piece, which is what y'all will have to decide, and I agree, we need to know exactly what you wanna do. The third piece they did was they interceded in the county. So they would go in, and if there was an issue like an LDO or another place, they would go in and get the juice, basically, for the council of what was happening and why something was held up. And they would get the information to the council, which wasn't something that our council could necessarily penetrate. 1, because of time, 2, because they didn't know exactly who to go to. So that person was a big relationship builder, as far as like having those relationships internally. Sometimes called a spy, not gonna lie, but that's how that position worked. So, like I said, we just need to know what y'all want, and we can get the market analysis for that, but, it does take a person that is a people person, because you have to be a networker and build those relationships regardless.
Okay. So is that our next step as far as building a description of what this person actually, and I'm talking about a very detailed description of what this position does?
That's required by your charter if you're gonna do that, because you can create or discontinue any offices at any time, section 2.8 of the charter. And if you choose to create one, then you need to define what that office does.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do that, define the position and then how that can work. It also says in the charter in there that that person is to be appointed based upon the mayor and the council agree. So you gotta make sure about that as well.
Didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Chill, I got a question.
Councilman?
So with Ms. Strong, does her office require additional people for constituent services, or is it just she's the only person?
You're
'Cause
it, aren't you?
So maybe we could, if we create the position, then it could be she's the supervisor over constituent services, but you have different, like how neighborhood services is. She'll have somebody additional, but that person is assigned to council, or somebody else working with homeless, or somebody that'll be the person to go work with policy like Ellis. But that person will solely be committed to work with council. And that's giving her an extra person, because if she's doing it herself for the mayor's office, for council, neighborhood people they call in, she's doing that for everybody, and she just need an extra person. But that person will be strictly dedicated to council. 58,000.
Okay. Get us a job description.
Thank you,
We'll-
Mr. Chair.
We'll go from there.
Any other requests from my council family?
I would suggest if you have,
Can we email some in?
yeah, I was gonna suggest if you have,
Send you an email.
suggestions of what you would like for this person to do, but that's not deliberating, is it?
It's gonna be a public record, yes, sir.
Well, no problem there.
We'll just attach
It's
it to
okay.
the email.
That's fine.
What
I don't ever send an email that I don't think I'm gonna read the newspaper next day.
It's always good, yes, sir.
what did, I missed it, what,
It's been
He
my
just said
motto.
it'd be public record.
It's just open,
oh,
it'd be subject to open, whatever they send you, it'd be subject to open.
So keep it clean.
we know, yeah,
All right,
we don't
I've
hide.
gotten used to it.
moving on down our agenda now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Pending legislative matters. Councilman Smith, did you ever come up with a date for urban chickens?
I did, sir, you just didn't like it.
It was in 2025, I think.
It was, yes, April,
Mhm.
first week after new office takes effect was my preferred deadline on that one.
I'll second.
No, I'll get you one today, though.
Okay, good. There is some budgetary matters that we need to discuss that's not necessarily on here. As Councilman Smith mentioned a while ago, the $100,000 that we have set aside for research. Typically, we do have a little bit of money left over, and I guess, do we know how much money that is
Well,
this year?
What we're doing, Vicky's still working on that. The money, we'd have two pots of money left over, the money that wasn't spent for research. So it would be everything that was not spent on Mr. Malden. But the other is money that hasn't been spent in our particular accounts.
Okay,
And Vicky's office is still trying to reconcile that.
okay. So,
So we don't know exactly, to answer your question.
so we would think, how much was the, study?
19,000
1920, so we
and some
got,
change.
so we ought to have 80,000, basically. My point is,
You'll have
we can
80,000
encumber those
plus.
funds if there are some capital projects that we would like to see either in here, like we've done before, or out in the chambers. And I know we have discussed before moving the podium to the back of the room instead of it being in the front of the room.
Right.
Is that something that this council would like to pursue so that we can get, Ellis a quote on moving the podium to the back of the room?
That's the will of council.
I'm seeing heads shaking up and
Yes.
down.
It was moving the podium, and in order to move the podium, you have to take out the back rows.
Yeah,
Those were the two big expenses.
that's
and
right,
the-
yeah, it's not just a simple, yeah, because you've got a walkway back there, and so we'd have to kind of look at how that would affect the emergency exits from the room, et cetera, et cetera. et cetera. Anything can be done with enough time and money, of course, but if somebody will point to where they want it, we can take a look at that.
Okay.
We
Oh,
talked with Officer
is there-
Price.
Huh?
Well, all of that should be a record. We talked with Officer Price that day, and there were three things. There's move the podium back, take out the back two rows, and then the other piece, which I still don't understand, is moving the mic. Apparently, it was Armageddon to move the mic, and I don't know, pick up the mic and move it, but it was some wiring or something under, huh? That's what it was. So those were the three pieces.
Okay. Or if there is some other capital that you would like to see, I'm not saying any necessary objections to moving the podium back. So we'll at least pursue that. Councilman
Sure,
Smith?
maybe you said this and I missed it. What's the latest on the other part of that conversation with metal detectors?
Oh, yeah.
That is something that I said I would look into, and I have not. Ellis, do you have any update on the metal detector?
I don't, but I was given to understand that, that was imminent, in some way.
I kind of felt so too, but I don't know how long imminent is.
Well, I have seen it sitting out in the hallway,
Yeah.
the actual machine.
Yeah.
It's gonna be outdated.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
I believe the issue is related to signage, if memory serves, and in order to have, an apparatus out there where we'll say, you know, you can take this, you can't take that, we have to have properly posted signage.
I know where you can get a sign by tomorrow.
Yes.
I know a guy.
Councilwoman
Same.
Burrs?
Well, there's legal things you have to have on the signs, et cetera.
I know another guy.
Okay, Councilwoman Burrs.
The main thing we were looking at was paying for it. It was like 20, what is it, Nicole, 26,000 a year?
27, I believe.
27. And so this was another budgetary thing, because we didn't have that in our budget.
Oh, okay.
And
27,000 a year covers what?
Was that the staff member, ma'am?
it's, huh? No,
Twenty-seven
it-
thousand.
the rental of the machine,
Oh, rental.
Rental.
of the machine.
Rental of the machine.
Okay, remember we talked about that, it was the rental of the machine, and then when you wanna update it or whatever, it was, I don't know, Price has all those things, but as I was talking with Nicole and we were working on the budget, we don't have $26,000 in our budget. We only have that 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so it either comes from our budget, or we were to understand that it would be part of IT as well. I don't know that that's been settled as well, as much. We've been putting aside some money. When I showed you the budget, there was a place there that had more money in it that was not earmarked. I handed it out to you. It was like $8,000. And this is money we were putting aside so that we'd have money to pay for the scanner. But there's still some stuff out there that we're not sure who's paying for what.
Okay.
Chip,
All right,
is the
Councilwoman.
elevator, have the elevator been fixed yet? Because it's not, I haven't been
Get in
on
there
it
and
again.
try.
I haven't been in it again.
Never again.
But it's not ADA accessible for the people that need to use it to get to the finance office.
Yeah, it won't be fixed till the end of the summer.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if that's expensive hours or.
No,
They
that
can-
should come
they
out of,
can get to the finance office to the other elevator in the other building.
Okay.
Councilwoman Ledford?
Thank you, sir. Quick question for Ellis. Is there any way we can get the screen that's in the kitchen area tied in to the, so we can see chambers and hear?
Highly likely. We'll look at that.
I mean, that's,
I've got a note.
you have no, I
I
thought we
won't say
talked
yes.
about it a long time ago, but
Yes.
it would be helpful sometimes to, you know, see what's going on and be aware. Sometimes if we have to step out for, we used to have a speaker system, and it was nice, because you did not hear, and at planning commission, when you step out for a second, it's nice to be able to hear that conversation, you're not missing anything.
Are the speaker's not working, sir?
No, sir.
No.
Okay.
Now, they went
Been for a
offline with the new
while.
system,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
But I do think it's very helpful for that conversation. Any chance we have to hear something, I think is important.
One other thing, we received an email from Stan, our auditor, on a financial analysis. Would the council like to have maybe a presentation during our budget hearings for either Stan or for somebody to kind of come go over this? You good with that?
Absolutely.
Stand for
Councilwoman,
sure.
could
Yeah,
you,
I was thinking that,
Yes.
so I
would
looked
you,
at it.
Stand for
I can
sure.
make that happen.
cancel?
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you.
yes.
Your budget schedule is a sorta kinda, so some of this may be moved a little, and I think it might be a good idea when you're making decisions to have that other piece that the chair just talked about, Stan's report, so I'll work it in there somehow.
All right.
Thank you.
Council, if you will look on down on your agenda, there are a couple of board appointments. that need to be made from different districts. If you would just peruse those and make sure that if you have a vacancy for a board, that you think of.
Chair, if I can go back to B pending presentations, Dr. Malden would like, if we can add him on the schedule for May the 14th.
I'm sorry, on which
The
one?
social and economic equity study.
Yeah,
Dr. Malden, he's available on May the 14th if we can add him on the agenda.
May the 14th. Okay. Is that something that you would want to do out there or in strategic planning?
Wherever council would like to have it, if you want to hear or out. Either way, it don't matter.
Preference?
I don't have a preference.
No.
I don't have a preference.
Okay, all right.
You want it for strategic planning?
I'll figure
Just
that.
let me know.
Let's see. That would be basically in 2 weeks. We could, I guess, circle back. You think maybe by that time with some job descriptions?
Oh, absolutely. That's May the
May the 14th.
14th. That would be great, Mr. Chair.
Councilman?
Mr. Chair, obviously per your direction, we do need to update our our committee directives. I noticed that some of those are outdated. Goals, and yes, so
Plan,
I would
okay.
like to get that on
Right,
the
right.
schedule, obviously per your direction. For example, I'm working on planning and zoning, which references, we're now past those goals.
Okay.
So I thought it might be a good time to bring this up and get it on the agenda at some point, maybe when we're clear to budget. Your call, sir.
Okay. We'll May the 15th, we'll do the study and, circle back to the, district attorney's position. Anything else that we need to discuss, Councilman Hester?
I would like to explore the possibility or create legislation that would limit the interim designation to employee to a certain period of time before they're voted upon by the council.
Any example?
It's like, I know when Donald Stone was, he was the interim, a couple of years, wasn't
I think I understand.
he? Yeah.
Oh, you're saying
Yeah.
limit the time someone is,
That'd be the interim.
Who has
Deemed,
deemed,
interim.
right.
you know, that's really a function of the administration.
Okay.
Maybe that's a conversation that we have with Jermaine and Ryan.
Mandy, and,
Mandy, maybe.
okay.
I might let Kevin in there.
Kind of, Kevin?
Right.
Councilwoman Cook.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Chris, if you don't mind, you will send me an update about what the old sports authority board, what they do, so I can share, if you have a copy, so I can share with constituents that may be interested, if there's anybody that's unapplied in the grant this for District 9, if you will send them to me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is sports authority, that's the only one.
For me, yep, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, I'll send it.
Anybody else? If not, we will adjourn until 3:30.
Okay.
That's on my bad.